time to focus on the farro salad. Now, if you've never had farro, it's an ancient grain and it is delicious with a deep, hearty flavor. I love it in salads in the summer because it holds for a few days. But I'm also gonna throw some vegetables into the salad, including snap peas. And snap peas taste good if they're blanched in the water right before you add the farro. So here I have 12 ounces of snap peas. I've prepped most of them, but here's a last few. Now, a snap pea, it has around the edges some really fibrous bits that you want to trim away. So what you do is you take a paring knife, you sort of snap off the end, and then you pull that fibrous bit away. Snap, pull it away. Snap, pull it away. All right, so now I'm gonna cut them into slightly smaller pieces. That just makes them more appropriate for a salad. Now you want about 1-inch lengths, which means just cutting them in half. Because it's a salad and it's for my mom, I want it to look pretty. I'm gonna cut them on the bias. To cut it on a bias, cut it on an angle. You can do a few at a time. I love snap peas when they're in season. So these peas, when they're in season, and it seems like the season for these guys is really short. I throw them into everything. They have sort of a green flavor. It tastes a little like pea, a little like snow pea. I eat them raw. I dip them into ranch dressing as a snack. I add them to everything. All right, last few ones here. So over on the stove, I have a big pot of water, about 4 quarts of water at a boil. All right, so nice big pot of boiling water. I'm gonna add some salt, about a tablespoon of table salt. I'm gonna add the peas right to the water. I'm gonna cook them really quickly, only about 2 minutes. You just want them to be a crisp tender. While they cook, let's prep some more veg. All right, to this salad, we're gonna add a few olives, about 1/3 cup of pitted Kalamata olives. Just gonna give them a coarse chop. That way they mix in nicely with the salad and you get a little bit of olive with every other bite. Big fan of olives, ever since I was a little kid. Okay, back into the bowl. Next up, some dill. It's really nice, especially with the shrimp that's coming up. You only need about 2 tablespoons of fresh dill. It's also very easy to grow and a little goes a long way. So if you're only gonna have a small container of herbs that you grow at your house, dill's a good one to have. All right, so just gonna give this a quick chop. Again, you want about 2 tablespoons of minced fresh dill. Oh, I love that. Don't smell it often enough in this house. All right, I'm gonna set that aside for now. Time to get those peas out of the water. I'm just draining them out of the water with a slotted spoon or this handy skimmer. I'm gonna let them drain on a paper towel lined plate and just let them cool to room temperature before we add them to the salad. All right, into the boiling water, the farro goes. This is 1½ cups of whole farro. All right, I'm gonna keep my eye on this, bring it to a simmer. It's gonna cook anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. It depends on the type of farro that you buy. Keep your eye on it, you want it to be good and tender. All right, back to prepping the veg. Next up, the cherry tomatoes. All right, so you have about 6 ounces of cherry tomatoes here, and you want to cut them in half. If you've never seen this trick, be ready to have your mind blown. Because cherry tomatoes, usually you have to cut them in half for recipes. And that can take a while, especially if you do them one by one. But this is a trick. You use a lid. This is a lid from a container. Deli containers work really well. You kind of pack the cherry tomatoes in one lid, take the other lid on top, run your knife right through the middle, and voila, halved cherry tomatoes. I know, it's the little things. That's it for the vegetables in the salad, save one. I'm going a little off script here. This is not in the recipe, but it's something I do all the time. I add extra green to everything. This is baby spinach, and what I'm gonna do is just give it a quick chop, almost like treating it like an herb, just so it'll mix nicely with the farro. All right, into the bowl with the other veg to be added to the farro at the last minute. Last, let's make a quick dressing for the farro salad. Starts with a shallot. So first, I cut the shallot in half after trimming off that tip end. Now I'm just taking those outer paper layers off, but I'm leaving the root end intact. All right, to mince a shallot, just like an onion, first you want to cut down thinly towards the root end. Then you want to do a horizontal cut with your blade horizontal to the board. Last, go straight down for a nice mince. That looks pretty good. That looks like 2 tablespoons. All right, so I'm gonna build the vinaigrette right into the bowl that we're making the farro salad, just to save some dishes. So in goes the shallot. To this, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a teaspoon of Dijon, A little salt, a little pepper. That's it, very simple vinaigrette. But as you see, I have everything for the salad all prepped up. That just means when it's time to serve, all I have to do is toss it all together and I'm off to the races. All right, that's it for the dressing. The vegetables are done. Time to check the farro. All right, this farro has been simmering away for about 20 minutes. You can see it looks quite different. The grains have busted open, kind of like barley. Only one way to tell if it's done, and that's to taste it. Perfect. A little bit chewy in the center. Of course, it'll get a little chewier as it cools. So now it's time to drain off the excess water. All right, now before we assemble the salad, we need to cool the farro off. Easiest to do on a nice clean rimmed baking sheet. Just gonna spread it out, let it cool down slowly. And by spreading it out, it won't clump as much. Also cools faster. And you can cook the farro up to 3 days in advance. Once it's cooled, just keep it in the refrigerator. Now, here is the farro that's been cooling on the rimmed baking sheet. Now I'm just gonna slide it right into this bowl of vinaigrette. And this is a good trick to know whenever you're making a grain salad. Just to spread it out on a rimmed baking sheet. That is not only a fast way to cool it down, but it prevents it from overcooking. All right, that looks pretty good. Now just gonna toss it with the vinaigrette. Make sure that vinaigrette really evenly coats all of the farro before we add the rest of the ingredients. All right, now I'm gonna add all the vegetables that we prepped earlier. There's that spinach, my little addition. There's the olives, all that fresh dill. This is gonna be a very full bowl. Next, the snap peas. And last, I'm just gonna add 1 can of cannellini beans that I drained and rinsed. They just add some nice texture, some good protein. Also, if you happen to have a vegetarian at the table, this can really serve as a main course too, so that's always nice. So I'm gonna gently toss this together. I know it's a packed bowl. I mean, really, you should use a big bowl to toss the salad and put it in a serving bowl, but sometimes I just hate doing extra dishes. Oh, it smells so good. The dressing is so simple. It's just olive oil, shallot, a little bit of Dijon, but it really brings all the vegetables together. Thanks for watching. What'd you think? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're excited to cook this week. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. You can get today's recipes and more for free at our website, americastestkitchen.com/JuliaAtHome.